Today on the show, we break down and review Episode 7 of the live-action Fallout TV show. Buckle up, everybody. We're headed into the wasteland. Welcome back to Fallout Fans, the limited series podcast where we discuss all things Fallout, including the live-action Fallout TV series. Watch all 8 episodes of the first season of Fallout, available exclusively on Amazon Prime Video, and then come here, join us as we break down and review each episode. Fallout Fans is brought to you by Megadads. Find us on megadads.org or Megadads on YouTube. Please consider subscribing if you like what you hear. We've taken a lot of effort into creating an interesting video version of the show. You can check that out on the YouTube. The audio version of the show is available wherever you get your podcasts by searching for Megadads Live, and again, the video version on YouTube. We use a special methodology to help us break down and review episodes. We talk about the best moments of the episode, the standout visuals, standout performances, discuss how the show stands up to die-hard fan scrutiny, talk about what we hated, and cap things off with a 5-star review. This is your spoiler warning. Watch the show for yourself first and then come back here and join us. Please leave a comment and let us know what you thought of the episode. Your own 5-star rating of the episode would be appreciated. Today, I am joined by none other than the Vault Boy himself, Clay Howard. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am jazzed. Now, this episode, I'm going to just spoil it slightly, was not the best for me. But I have a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. It's not just this beer that I'm nursing over here. It's because you prepare for the show by re-watching the episode. And I am you've watched the episode at least twice before we talk about things. And I just appreciate you. I just wanted to say that. Can I say that?
Can we say that.
Can we have a wasteland bro moment?
That seems fair. Yeah. If watching a show more than once makes you feel loved, then I'm here to do it.
There we go. Let's jump right into the episode. Episode 7, The Radio. Strength, the best scene or moment of the episode. I'm going to go first on this one. Again, okay. I didn't love the episode. It didn't have a whole lot of high points, but the standout scene for me was quite honestly seeing the Red Rocket. And just kind of followed up ever so slightly by toward the end, we have Norm hacking a computer, and it's just the Fallout hacking from 4, from 3, this. The hacking mini game is there, and seeing Red Rocket, seeing the hacking, that was honestly the highlight for me. It was getting back to these references of the game that makes it so exciting to watch. And I'm I know what that is. They did it so well. The sound effects, the look of everything. Whoever created this set was knew what the hell they were doing. And I think they did great. So I have a separate thing because we talk about standout visuals, but honestly, and kind of sadly, that was the highlight for me. That was the strength, the highlight moment of the episode. How about you, Clay? What did you like in episode 7?
I guess my favorite part, and just the part I thought was really funny, was the part where Maximus shows up in the power armor to save Lucy, and just starts tossing dudes aside with the power armor on. I don't know. The first time I watched it and the most recent time I watched it, it made me laugh. I thought it was really funny, and it was just kind of a silly, lighthearted moment where he flips the Nuka-Cola machine up into the air and stuff, and it's just I don't know. It was just kind of funny and cool at the same time. That was kind of a standout moment for me, I guess.
Totally related when he is eating his popcorn and he sees Lucy getting dragged off, and he has that moment if he's gonna decide if he's gonna get off his ass to like do something. He's like looking at the popcorn. He's like taking one last handful, which is like what I do. Like if I'm gonna go and do something, like all right, let's go. Let me go save the day. And yeah, him just like, popping that fusion core in and just like going to try to save her, but it being like sorry, like it hilarious. Hilarious. It was a funny moment. The lighthearted moments are hitting for me. Like they do in a few other areas as well. They kind of get goofy with it, and I still think that the tone that they're going for, I think they're nailing it. It's not all serious, and I think that it's great too. So yeah, I was kind of hoping that he would be like crushing people, like breaking a couple arms and stuff like that to make it even more insane. But he kind of just throws a whole like Nuka-Cola container like across the room. So it was interesting. Like if you notice that scene, he flips a table like that has popcorn on it. Yeah. Why does he do that? It's just like table flip, like hilarious. Like what is that doing? It's like, oh my god. I thought it was it was a good scene. So excellent choice. Perception. Interesting or standout visuals in this episode or sound effects. What do you think, Clay? What stood out to you visual wise?
I guess I would pick Thaddeus with his foot and with the arrow in his neck and just kind of these ghoul things that are starting to happen with him. I don't know if they like nailed the visuals on it, but I just thought it was interesting and like fun to watch. Obviously he gets convinced to drink this like medicine stuff, and all of a sudden his foot kind of goes back to normal, and it's just interesting. I don't know. And when he first pulls his sock off at the beginning, you can tell he's in a lot of pain, and they just show his foot and it's all limp and destroyed, and it's just like, ooh, that doesn't look fun. That's what happens if you get your foot stepped on by power armor. Like, ooh, that does not look fun at all.
This was exactly mine. So when he shows his mangled foot, and I think we get at least 2 or 3 good looks at it, the toes hanging off, the bone is exposed, and it looks gruesome. And I'm just like, it just looks gruesome, and it was great. When he takes the inhaler drug, which could be like, any number of drugs that you see in the Fallout games that are shaped that way, like, Buff Out or, Daddy-O or whatever it is, they have these like ways of taking the drugs. I don't understand this, and I think they're taking some liberties, because what you imply then is that he's irradiating himself. He's getting what in the games would be like a perk or a status effect of like a mutation thing that's also regenerating him. But via the pump, like how does that even work? Like I think they took a leap in logic, even in game logic, to be like, oh, inhale this, now you're irradiated and now you're a ghoul. Like what? Like that was kind of dumb to me.
Yeah.
But, and then his foot like jelloing like into, I mean, he was happy with the restoration of his foot, but it came back together in just like a lump, and he was like, great. And I don't know. I thought it was super weird. So now we know, I guess, that ghouls have this bonus, right? That they regenerate.
Right. I assume that's why there's every time they regenerate, the scarred tissue is like left behind, and so I assume that's why most ghouls are like all kinds of scarred up and look rough. But I don't know, I wouldn't overthink the thing too much. I mean, this guy calls himself a doctor. We met him earlier in the season, and he was having sexual intercourse with chickens.
Yeah.
And so I think he's just he's different than most people, and so he's clearly come up with some way to create some kind of potion to create ghouls. So even if it's not a common thing in the Commonwealth, maybe he's found a specific way to trick people into turning into ghouls. Who's to say?
He goes just by snake oil salesman in the show. He's played by John Daly. That this guy who, claims to be like a physician, that he's going to help his foot, help Thaddeus out. He's so creepy looking. We see him like about to blow his brains out, and then he's like, "Oh well, let me do one last scam, I guess, to keep myself going." But he's so odd looking in the show, and that'll be my standout perception, honestly, because
It's
his
a good
look
one.
is creepy AF, and it just works. It's like, yeah, this guy lives in a nuclear wasteland, like totally. He's lost his marbles. He's like out there, and like he just looks like I'll have nightmares about this dude. Like he looks that weird. I think it worked. So excellent. So standout visuals. There were a couple. The sound effect that goes along with everything that I mentioned with the hacking. It's the sound from the game. The like of the old
Right.
school computer turning on. That was another like standout sound for me. Endurance. Can the Fallout TV show live up to fan expectations? I'm just going to read out a couple things here, a couple comments that I found online. The radio station showing up in the show and people just listing off what they wanted it to be and what music they wanted to hear playing. They ended up going with like this fiddle thing where it's like, hey, all he does is play this like annoying music for people, and then people come and try to like, I guess, shut him down and get caught in his traps. But we have like the radio station being the key driver of like, here's where everybody is going, which is interesting. And then a lot of people were commenting about, oh, I wish that it was Three Dog, like stuff that, I mean, this is their own timeline. This is their own story that they're telling. But there was a lot of hopes and dreams of what the radio was going to be about and who was going to be the DJ or whatever. So I thought that was interesting, but I agree. I think they could have done a little bit more with those, with the scenes and with the radio station. We have, I forget this comedian's name here. It was Fred Armisen. Yeah. If you ever seen Portlandia, SNL, an incredible, talented comedian, actor, all over the place, this guy, and he was very funny. When I look at cameos in these shows, I always kind of want something a little bit more, but I was happy. I mean, it was very unexpected, and yeah, there's always going to be people and fans that are going to want something different. What would you want ideally in this scene? Did it work for you with the radio and this in particular, the way that they handled the station and what they were playing and the guest DJ cameo?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, as soon as I heard his voice, I knew it was him.
Really?
Yeah.
Earlier, like when he was on the
'cause
radio,
he
like
starts
saying
talking, and I was
Okay.
like, oh, I know that voice. That's Fred or whatever. And so, but I didn't think he was actually gonna show up. And so later on, when he's like there, I was just like, yes, he's here. And so, I thought his whole part, it wasn't anything groundbreaking or like crazy, like good, but even when they're kissing at the end, he kind of like opens his little window and
Yeah,
is like staring
love
at him.
that
So like,
shit, yeah.
it's just nice little subtleties, and I thought it was a good little cameo. I think it worked well. I think the idea of it, a radio DJ that has all these crazy traps to kill people who come at him, and then there was this whole little bit about like the purity of music and how you can hear the mids and the highs and stuff, and it's like it was just like a random little jab at like hipsters who try to like over like explain why vinyl records are better, why analog music's better. And so it was just like a really random little like thing they threw in where they were kind of mocking current day people who argue about the quality of music. And so it was just kind of some fun little things they threw in.
I agree. Like, if you're gonna have him, I'm like, let him do something comedic, and they didn't let him completely off the leash, but the like mids and all that, he's like, oh, that's the bass, that's the trouble. Like, it was funny, and I'm like, I'm glad that they gave him something. And then yeah, when he opened the window like twice at the kiss thing, like just his look is so funny to me, and I think it worked. It could have been better, I think, a little bit. I think I would have like let someone like a talent of his caliber a little bit off the leash. I bet that he had something to do with like the final like say and script of how they were going to deliver those lines about what they talk about as they're trying to kill time. I just have a feeling that he was in on it a little bit, because that's kind of how that works sometimes when people do cameos on shows. But overall, really good, really fun, which again, this is going with the strength of when they go for funny, when they go for lighthearted, I think that they nail it, overall. Charisma, standout acting or performances in episode 7, The Radio. I'm sad to say that this is the Goggins show now. He did everything that he possibly could. There is a scene in particular, toward the beginning that kicks off the episode extremely strong. It doesn't matter if he's the ghoul. It doesn't matter if he is, pre-war Cooper. It doesn't matter what's going on. He is the standout. Every time that he's on screen, I want him to be on for more. If I had to do just any backup, it would have to be Thaddeus, because he has a role to play, and it's half comic relief too. And even though oh man, I got shot in the neck, I'm a ghoul, this sucks, like, it works because he's doing it. And I think that that has to be noteworthy. So Thaddeus is played by Johnny Pemberton. So good job, Johnny. You did really good with what you had on screen. Very lighthearted and comical. What did you think? Standout acting in the episode.
Yeah, so I originally had wrote down Fred Armisen as my choice.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah,
but we already kind of hit on him already. I don't really have much else to say about it, but and then my backup was Thaddeus. Before you even said it, I was going to switch to him. So I'm with you. I love his character. I didn't expect to. I'm glad that it seems like he's going to survive, and I hope he's in the next episode and the next season. And I hope that we continue to see more of his character. Up until the point where he starts shooting the pistol in this episode, he was a very competent character who was actually good at his job. But then all of a sudden he starts shooting that 9mm and he misses every shot, and he goes, "Oh, I suck without a scope on it," or something. It was kind of funny, but I don't know. I just thought his character was well done. Like, he's a good actor and he can be funny. His back and forth with Fred Armisen about the tone of the music and stuff, I thought that was all really like funny and well done, like well acted out. And so I'm glad that they didn't let him die due to a foot injury. So
I think that you'll agree with me that the opening scene was very strong, and Eric Estrada, he was in a number of things. I think he was in either Miami Vice or Chips, I forget which one, but he plays the father of this standoff that's happening between the ghoul and this father who's trying to say, okay, let's give this guy the information and let him go. You find out he has a son that was been killed, and he has a son that's just like recklessly involved with Moldaver and like, gets into some shit. But he played a worried father really well, I thought, as well. So honorable mention to Eric Estrada. Glad that he's out there doing things still. I mean, he did really well. Intelligence, dumbest or worst moment or scene of the episode. I'll let you go on first on this one, Clay. What did you think? What was a low point for you?
Yeah, so this one kind of built over from the previous episode, but there was this whole thing with Vault 4 and what their secret was, what's going on. Yeah. At the end of the last episode, Lucy gets caught by them. She throws some acid or something on this dude's face, and then she gets carried off, and we have to wait till this episode to find out what is going on over here. And so I think that the payoff / kind of the reveal of what was actually happening in Vault 4 was kind of lame and like kind of confusing, but didn't really serve a whole lot of a purpose. It just ended up being like, well, the original people were the bad guys. We're from up top, but we're actually the good guys. You pegged us all wrong, and now you have to leave. It was just like, I don't know. I get that they were trying to trick us, because obviously Lucy thought that something bad was happening, but in reality they were actually being good. But then they also like kind of tried to work the monster with the fingers in its mouth from earlier back in. It was just a lot, and it just didn't feel like a great payoff. I think the best part of the whole thing was kind of the bit at the end where like, we're sentencing you to death, by exile, and you have to go up top. And she was like, oh, that's not bad. And he even pulled out the sword, and he was gonna like, and then he starts chopping away at her, like all of that like kind of worked. So it was kind of funny. And then it led to the scene that I was talking about earlier that I thought was really funny. So like in the end it worked out, but it just like after the first time I watched it, like if you would have asked me 2 days later, so what was the big secret of Vault 4, I would have been like, I don't remember, something with people being tested on, but I couldn't even remember. It just didn't really land. So that's mine.
The main thing is that they do reveal that there are experiments happening and implying that they're happening in every vault. And she's like, I don't have an experiment in my vault. And that's like the payoff where she's finally getting it a little bit. It's like your ignorance is no excuse for you, you know. But you're right. It was very convoluted because what's happening here is you have people who are formerly on the surface, fans of Moldaver and the fire, what do they call her? Fire goddess or some shit. They're drinking blood and they're doing the naked ashes. And that's still part of what's happening. So she's freaked out a little bit about that for sure. But okay, we're taking care of former experiments. It was the whole thing. We didn't do it. Other people did. And oh, by the way, there were experiments happening in this vault that you should have been aware of. And part of what they did is scientists were over that vault. It's the same vault that they interview in the commercial that Cooper does. Vault 4, right? I think. And they're like, this is the scientists. This is what they did here, and they experimented on people, and they made them into the gobblers. What is it called? The drowners? I forget. Whatever. You know what I'm talking about. The haters out there. The fish people with the fingers in their mouth. The animal creatures. So they had a lot of strands trying to come together really quick, and I agree with you that it was like a low point. So 100%. Now, my low point, what I thought was real stupid was the conversation between Moldaver and Cooper, where they're at this meeting. She's a communist person talking basically about politics, and everybody's sitting there nodding. So it's like, okay, this is the start of like a political thing. It has overtones of their like being indoctrinated. I hated this whole thing, and I'm not one to say like, you know, fuck politics, because I'm like, you know, I'm into politics a bit, and you know, but this whole thing was messy and stupid, and I didn't like anything that they were doing. She's basically like, oh, the government's bad, you know, Vault-Tec's bad, and you know, he's like, all right, this is bullshit, you know, communism isn't good. And then all of a sudden they change gears. Then they're in the hallway and she's like, I need your help. Spy on your wife and get back this infinite energy thing that I've been working on. It was too fast. It was fucking like, I didn't like it. Any thoughts on this whole like little scene of like what's going on
that's
here?
That's fair. They definitely threw some like exposition in there. Like, oh, there's this energy thing that they took from me. And it's kind of like alluding to, you know, maybe other things that are coming down, you know. So it felt like a little bit of like they're more staging this just to give us some information that we're going to need for later. I agree with you. I think what you're saying is completely valid, especially the part where she is standing up there talking and finally Cooper's like, I'm done with this, I'm leaving. And then she kind of singles him out. Like that whole back and forth, I just don't think anything really interesting ever happened in that. Whereas if you think back to a previous episode where Cooper was talking to his buddy who invited him to this thing, and him and his buddy talk at the bar about how it's in the best interest of Vault-Tec for there to be war and all that stuff. Like that conversation I feel like was way more interesting and like actually brought some unique perspective to Cooper that I felt like the meeting didn't really do. And so I feel like they could have just done without it and had a part where Cooper talked to her and she's like, here's a thing if you want to spy on your wife. And I feel like that would have been enough. Like, I don't feel like they needed all the extra stuff. I felt like it was a little, I get that they want to show Cooper kind of being like hesitant to be questioning his wife and her company, but I just don't think this was the way to do it. So that's a good choice. I didn't even think about that, but it was kind of slow and a little bit boring. I'll give you that. At least Walton Goggins acting made it somewhat, enjoyable to watch.
Oh yeah, yeah. Anytime he's on screen, it's interesting. The at this These episodes are meaty. They are. As I was watching this episode, I'm like, it's hitting me that they're using the full hour, but a lot of the scenes were dragging, especially the vault stuff, where it's like, okay, they're leaving to another vault, and they have a lot of suspense going on,
Yeah.
and a lot of long, like, stairs and things, which is fine, but what we end up having is Norm, looking at his buddy with, like, you're gonna go, huh? And he gives a good line. He's like, oh, yeah, you're a coward. He's like, we all are. We all live in a vault. Like,
Yeah.
it just, other than that, though, I was pissed that they slow burned yet again the vault 33, 32, 31 shit. Like, I'm done with it. Like, I was excited, but now you've strung it along too long officially, and I'm upset now. Like, and there's a delicate balance there where it's like, get to it. And I'm afraid that in the second to last episode, they, like, for one reason or another, took all these weird decisions. It's like, where they could have invested more time, they didn't, and they went too fast. And then in these other scenes, it was like long and drawn out. So a lot of low
I don't
points
know.
for me, in my opinion. IMO.
I think I disagree. I think part of it, if I had to guess, is the fact that the show's been out for a month and 2 weeks, and you're still watching it. So some of this kind of feels like it's drawing out. If you were to watch these back to back, man, I feel like the pacing's fine on it. I think the
Okay.
Vault mystery, in my opinion, is one of the better parts of the first season. As far as just like what's gonna happen, and so I think that they're building up to, like you said, a lot of suspense in this one, a lot of glances, and the way the episode ends, obviously, really you just like want to know what is he looking at, and then it just purposely ends where you can't see kind of what he was looking at, and so
I thought they were going to show it. I really did.
Yeah.
I was like, I really did. Agility. You got to be quick in the wasteland. Let's go through beat for beat the main story beats and character arcs in episode 7, the radio. We open up with NCR armor. Yeah, that's right. We got a pair scrapping for lead and caps in the sand of the wasteland, and I thought this was awesome. Like, the armor looked great. I didn't know exactly what was happening at first, but we have a ranger, like, with the goggles and the red or whatever, and I thought it looked super cool, and it comes full circle when they go to what I feel is one of the stronger scenes into this standoff, where we have Eric Estrada's character and then his son walking in, and it's like, oh shit, what has happened? And basically the ghoul, we have Coop, is there, and he's like implying that he ate his daughter, and I thought that was fucking intense. He's like, you thought, because and it worked, man. It was super. That was I should have said this was the highlight of the episode. I really enjoyed the whole thing, and then they uncover that this boy was also kind of a supporter of Moldaver, and he knows where she is. So that's all the, like, story element that we get out of this, is he's on the trail, and that's like what we get out, which is kind of like drawn out, but that's what happened.
Yeah, and
What'd you think of the
also,
opening scene?
I thought it was great. I thought there was some tension there. And I think also it just continues to paint the ghoul as this kind of anti-hero where, you want to root for him. You want to
100%.
think he's a good guy. But I mean, he pretty much coerces this kid into drawing on him so that he can shoot him and stuff.
Did
and
he
so,
though? Did he?
Kind of did. And so,
I don't think
but
he did.
it's just, I don't know. It's a good reminder. I think the show is purposely trying to remind us that he's not going to make the right decision every time. He's not going to be the good guy every time. And so it's just, I think it was an interesting, because you're right. Oh, other than him finding out how to follow Lucy and Maximus and all of them, like, other than that, he doesn't really Like the scene serves no really other purpose other than to remind you that he's still kind of a bad guy to a degree. And so I don't know. It's a good scene. It felt like something out of a Western, which is cool. So.
I love that like he basically charmed his way probably into a meal, and then also he like I think they still are threading the needle in that they leave a sliver of hope that he has some type of code. And what he's done is he's lived long enough to know that this kid's going to come after him later. He's made the mistake of addressing it later, and this person like grows up and or like waits years and comes back and finds him, and that he was just like, let me just take care of this now because I've done this too many times, having mercy on somebody and then having them like come back. So I think he just stated the obvious and let the kid do what he knew he was already gonna do. He's like, maybe not today. He's like, maybe later. But I don't know if he coerced him. I think he just sped shit along because he's seen too much.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. I think he still has a code, but maybe he doesn't. Who knows? Moving on, we have the scene in the church or the conservatory, whatever the hell. They're talking about politics. They're talking about like, okay, like Voltec's bad. Get it. We have Moldaver, who, whatever, her name's Miss Williams, pre-war. And she's created infinite energy. Spy on your wife, please, because you don't really know her like I do. And Voltec's bought up, blah, blah, blah. And like all this shit. Whatever. Yeah, you have anything to add to that scene?
Nope.
You there?
Nope.
Moving on. We have the interrogation where they show Lucy, hey, there's been experiments in the vaults, including the vaults here, and there's an issue. You're probably being experimented on. It goes right over her head, and the mystery of what's going on there is just basically that people from the surface came down and had mercy on the test subjects and trying to keep them as comfortable as possible, I guess. And they're just super weird, and they are probably part of a surface level cult that they've now brought down into the vault, but they are irradiated people that are just look a little weird, have weird customs, and that's the long and short of it. Maximus thinks that he's saving the day, and he busts in flipping tables and throwing popcorn around when they're just trying to let Lucy completely go as her punishment. And they even give her supplies. That was a laugh out loud moment for me when they're like,
yeah,
yes, here are your supplies. Like this is all we're giving you. And it's like a nice like gift basket. And then they take it one step further where they're like, oh, he's like, can I ask a question? He's like, yes, someone's going to carry it for you to the surface. It's like hilarious. Like I really love this area. It's Chris Parnell, Overseer Benjamin with the one eye that bothers you. Did the eye get better for you? Worse? Like, would you talk to me about the eye? He cries and he dabs his one eye. You're not into that?
I did see that.
Yeah.
I think he's a great actor. I think he's really funny, and I think he did some really good delivery on this one. Remind me to get that sword sharpened. Like he did a great job. Just the one.
Why was it a
weird.
scimitar type sword? It was so weird.
It was like a ritual sword.
Yeah, it was a ritual sword. Yeah. I don't know. Whatever. Moving on, we have Thaddeus. He's limping this whole fucking time, taking this big, like, supply pack that's supposed to be attending to the power armor, and he finally lets it go. He puts dog meat, and they finally call him dog meat, interestingly enough. The ghoul nicknames him. But he goes up to the Red Rocket and puts dog meat inside of a little, like, canister to... He's like, you can breathe in there, right? And he, like, leaves them. Is this animal abuse? What's happening?
He's just tired of him following him, and dog meat tried to eat his foot at one point. That was kind of funny.
Oh, yeah.
And he's, like, pulling on the bag and stuff. Dog meat is being a pain in the butt.
I love that they have this dog sticking around. Like, he just will not go away. He will continue and continue to go. One last note, looping back around to, they do give the fusion core back, and
That's right.
we have Maximus and Lucy talking about the core that, do the right thing, basically. And she kind of gets to him because I think previously he would be more jaded and he's like, you don't understand. I'm going to teach you how to survive. But then she finally breaks through and says, look, it's not the end all be all to survive. It's also kind of what you do. And he gives in. I didn't think he was, but he gives back the fusion core and they drop it down the medical supply chute.
And then there's a big conversation right there at that point after they drop the fusion core where she calls him a good person. He's like, I'm not a good person. And he actually comes clean about his real name and all that stuff. And so he comes clean and she's basically just like, yeah, I still want you to come, stay in my vault with me and stuff. And so I think that's a really big scene too, is just him finally being honest with her and her like being like, yeah, everyone's a little bad, but that doesn't make you a bad person and all that stuff. So there's some good forgiveness and good like character arc building there that I think is gonna play a part at some point. So
I'm so glad that he came clean, but also the way he came clean, because he didn't overly sell that he didn't say I killed the guy for his power armor, because that's not what happened. He ends up saying like, I think he said like he was mean to me, or he's like, oh, he was some shit, but he was basically said the truth. He's like, there was some shit between us and I let him die. And then I took the power armor. And she's like, I threw acid in someone's face. We all have our shit. And I'm a sucker for love stories and in shows and all that shit. I don't think they have the best chemistry, but I like that they have a relationship in the show. What do you think about this? Talk to me about your heart.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they have the best chemistry, but it works fine enough. They're both kind of like awkward and dumb in their own ways, and so I guess they work well together for that reason. So it was all just kind of a little too like you saw it coming from a mile away. When the second he showed up in the armor, she was like goo goo gaga for him or whatever, and so it was a little, but it's fine.
It worked out. Yeah. We had a resolution here to an arc of like, will they, won't they? She's basically like, come have sex with me in my vault. I know you like vaults and what we have. And guess what? Like, you could be with me there. And she's like, all right, sounds good. So, okay, great. Like, great. We wrapped it up. Moving on, we have Thaddeus turns into a ghoul. We have the snake oil salesman giving him a weird concoction. He's going to blow him away, but then he's like, you have this standoff going on. And then he's just like, here, take this. And he basically finds out way later that he irradiates him in order to have him get some regeneration effect to his foot. That foot, like, I'm staring at it right now. I'm sick to my stomach. Oh, Lord. Ugh. Ugh. Moving on, someone poisoned the inmates. And then everybody gets assigned to one vault or another. And all that happened. It seemed anticlimactic to me. It seemed like it was kind of long and drawn out to me. But what did you think about this whole thing that the prisoners were poisoned? I think they like implied that they were going to be poisoned via the food very strongly before this even happened. What do you think about that? Like, who did it? Do you have any predictions of what the hell's going on here?
I mean, at one point,
does it matter?
I don't know if it matters. At one point, I thought he was going to do it, her brother, but
yeah, in fact, I thought that it was pretty implied that he didn't do it, but he was like, thinking of doing it.
The way they filmed the whole thing in this episode kind of tells you, because I think they purposely wanted you to know it wasn't him when it happened. So
this is where I'm talking about things dragging and being kind of like overdone. So we do have the ghoul finding dog meat. He does, give him the nickname, and he's like, dog meat, you're not my original dog, which tore at my heartstrings. We have this little mini scene where you find that Cooper's like, you know what? I am going to connect this listening device to my wife's Pip-Boy and listen in on her. I'm too suspicious. He's like, no dogs in the vault, huh? Like, he's really like, that really put him over the edge that he couldn't have his dog in the vault, which is like, okay. And yeah, I don't think anything big here, but interesting. Wrapping it all up with the radio scene. So everybody knows to go to the radio tower, I guess, right? Because that's where Thaddeus would go, and that's how they find him there.
Yeah, I don't know how Lucy and Maximus found him. I don't think
if they would have said like like, I know how to get the head. Like, Thaddeus would need to get back to
Because
the
they've been in
Brotherhood.
a
He would
vault
need a
for
signal.
what, 2 days or a day?
Yeah,
They've
it's a
been in the
long
vault.
time.
Like, it wasn't like they were above ground where they would even have an idea. He literally was stranded in the suit. She found him. Then they went below ground and then came up and immediately found him somehow. I can't
Every
remember.
wide shot of the wasteland is like vast open areas, but if you notice when the doctor, the snake oil salesman says, "Oh yeah, the radio tower's over there by a place that was like the crater by the city that was irradiated," and we already know that those people came down into Vault 4. So it's all in this same general area, I guess,
Just-
which is like okay. I mean, everybody's traveling on foot. Let's just
Yeah.
say that. You know what I mean?
Didn't Lucy put a tracker in the head with her pit boy?
You're right. There we go.
That's
we
what it
solved
was. Yeah.
Good job. You solved it.
I
We have
knew
the
there was
fucking track.
something.
Yeah,
And
but
I
then
think
they don't mention that shit.
I
But
think
whatever,
the
fuck
only
it.
reason they put it in there is just so that for this part right here, they could
Yeah.
justify how
He's
do we
gotta come
quickly
back.
have them find him real fast.
Fred Armisen does a great job as DJ Carl, and it's kind of funny. They're going back and forth. We have Thaddeus missing the shots when he takes the pistol shots at Maximus and Lucy, which is fun. Then he takes an arrow to the neck. What'd you think of the arrow to the neck?
I thought it was awesome. You could even like hear like a weird like noise when he was breathing and stuff. Like
Yeah, the like
Little-
slight whistle.
yeah, a little slight whistle. Yep. I just thought it was a nice little touch. So
Yeah. And then we have the basically super fast again wrap up. Like, oh man, he's like, give me the head, I got it. He's like, you do that for me? Okay, sorry for everything. All right, bye. Like they'd kill me if I was a ghoul. I love the line of like, oh, the Brotherhood here, they're a great organization. They're the good guys, right? He's like, it's a complicated organization. Like that like little line just fucking put everything on a nice little bow, right? It's like, well, not exactly, right?
yeah.
And it works. It fucking works. Like they get away with a lot of shit by just like these certain lines that wrap things up. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I thought that was great. I don't know if you're gonna hit on this in a second, but we finally get the kiss.
Oh my god, this is what
between
I
the
was gonna
two.
talk about next.
Yeah.
How many times did they kiss?
I don't know.
Twice at
Twice?
least. They break and then they come back, and that's when Fred Armisen like opens the door the second time.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, and it's not one of those like little pecks either. They kind of like, and then you have the severed heads kissing at the same time.
Which is what I want to talk about. That is another like perfect part of this episode where there's just this charm to it. Like normally like kiss scenes like this where they first kiss, I'm like eye roll, stupid, whatever. But then the camera tilts down, it pans down, and the two heads are kissing each other, and it's just like, it's so genius. Like I don't know when they thought that up, if they were like literally filming and they did it, or if it was like planned from the beginning. But it's just it's a nice comedic moment that's still kind of dark and twisted because they're severed heads that they're holding while kissing, but also the severed heads are kissing, and it's just like, I don't know, I just thought it was brilliant. I loved it. So
People did talk about that as well online.
nice.
So yeah, I liked it. It's goofy. I think it wasn't going to be Fallout if they didn't get to this tone, this weird tone that they wanted. It has to be weird. The episode wraps up with the introduction of the ceremony of them going to the vault. They're like, we're going to repopulate. People are splitting up, and we're going to make it dramatic. And then we have Norm saying, let me hack this computer of the Overseer. I'm going to wait for this moment to send a message to the Overseer of 31 to say that, oh, shit's going down. They're like, all right, come in. We're going to open the door. And then he goes and they open the door. And then you think the episode's over. And then he's in the dark. And then he's like, hello. And then he sees something. We don't know what it is. He's in a new, strange place. And that's it. I thought they were going to show us. I thought they were going to finally fucking show us something. But they don't. He's just like freaked out.
Yeah, because they even have a part where he walks into the vault and then it goes dark and you think that's the end of the episode, but then he like continues walking. So it's like they could have stopped it right then and there and just saved it for the next episode, but they even purposely went a little bit further showed you kind of something around like some debris, and then it was just over. Like they were really just being a little tease at that point.
From the like 47 mark to the 55 mark basically of the episode is this whole like wrap up of the vault. And this is why I'm saying that it drags, because it's like they just this is what they spend like a whole lot of time on. And I just thought it was too much already. I want to know, tell me, give me more already. And that's what I'm looking forward to. Speaking of luck, what do we want to see in future episodes? I need a wrap up here that's gonna kind of blow me away. We have so many loose ends. We have Moldaver. What's that about? We have the vaults. What's in 31? Who's typing on the other side as Overseer 31? You know, we have Norm doing all this detective work, all this like skepticism. Who poisoned the fucking people in the prison, the prisoners in 33? Like, what's going on with the head? Like, are they gonna pull this magic tic tac out and put it into a machine? What the fuck is going on there? There's a lot of loose ends still, and they only have one episode to do it. Is there gonna be some dramatic way that Cooper's wife betrays Cooper in a real sense of saying, wow, she kind of knew that shit was really bad and didn't like tell me? I don't know. What do you want to see in future episodes? What do you want to see in what would make it a 5-star finale for you, Clay? A wrap up.
For me, it's going to be I want more Thaddeus because I'm a big fan of that character, and I want more dog meat. One more dog meat. I want to see what dog meat. The whole point of having she, I think it's a she, around the whole time is they've got to do something with that. So I'm hoping they don't kill the dog and do something cool with it. So
you're right. If the dog's been in this much, it's like got to survive to season 2. It's got to have like a big moment. Yeah, good old. I love that they called him dog meat. Didn't you love that they called him dog meat?
Yeah, I didn't think they were gonna do it, but
me either. I didn't think they were gonna do it. Final rating here for each of us. I'm gonna give this episode a 2, and it's a weak 2. Like, I didn't like enough. It opened really well, but I don't think anything really progressed in any satisfying way. Yeah, we had the kiss, but if their chemistry was better, then maybe that alone would like have, lifted things up. But I'm gonna give it a 2. What do you think, Clay?
I think that you're suffering from fatigue from drawing this out so long. I think if you would have watched it a little quicker, I think
it would have been okay.
Would like it more. But I do think that your fatigue also does help you see where there could potentially be some pacing issues. There could be some lulls in the pacing and all that. So I agree. There are some slower parts. There are a couple parts that maybe could be tightened up, and they could have spent that time on better things. But I do think there's a lot of really funny parts in this one. I think that they are very clever with a lot of things, and I feel like they're moving along real well, heading towards the final episode being next. And so really, other than just some slow stuff, some slow parts that I'd knock them down a point for. So I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Incredible. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for another exciting episode of Fallout Fans. Are you ready for the finale? I know I am. I can't wait to see it. I hope it blows me away. I hope it's satisfying and it still leaves threads to take care of in season 2. I am happy that this exists, and I think they've done an amazing job on so many fronts. Here we go. Let's wrap it up, people. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for joining me, Clay. We'll see you next time, everybody, as we travel into the wasteland.